Hey guys, it's Monday, May 6th, and time for spiritual discipline for this week. Now, you may recall, all the way back at the beginning of these spiritual disciplines, we picked a category of disciplines called chief end. And the reason for that is just based on the Westminster Catechism. The question it asks is, what is the chief end of man? What's the main thing we're supposed to do? And the response in there, I love it, the response in there is the chief end of man is to glorify God by enjoying him forever. That's with the John Piper modification in there, but that's what we're here to do. We're here to just enjoy God forever and glorify Him from that enjoyment. There and so today's discipline is kind of designed to do that. Now, this is a discipline that I came up with on my own, at least in this format. None of these concepts are original to me, but this format, this was something that I came up with. And some of you were with us back in 2016, or 2017, when I called that my year of determined joy. You remember that? It's like, I don't care if I'm doubled over in pain, I'm gonna be joyful. And 2016 was pretty awful, and it just got the best of me, and I just said, I gotta have a different way of doing this. And I wound up, God did a work in me at the end of 2016 and rolling into 2017 that he started having me do things that became really, really helpful for me. And I took those and kind of crafted a discipline out of them. And that's, hopefully it makes sense to you, and hopefully it blesses you kind of like it did me. As it's doing again yet today here. So this one is CE2, rejoice in the Lord always. CE2, rejoice in the Lord always. And kind of the idea behind it is that whatever you're facing today, you have reason to be joyful. You really do. And you may not see it. And if you don't see it, I get that. I understand not seeing it. But it's still there. You still have reasons to be joyful today, whether you see it or not. And this discipline is designed to kind of draw it out. Now, there are three questions here that deal with the where, the what, and the who. Over the course of this week, I'd encourage you to do all of these to answer each question here. Now, for the first one, the first question is, wherever I am or am not right now, how did God get me here? I'm going to post an example of that on the Facebook pages there, and so you can kind of see what it is I'm doing, because it'll make more sense once you see the process. It's actually a pretty simple. It doesn't take long to do, but it's pretty eye-opening when you do it. And kind of the idea behind this is like, there's a little bit of faith that goes into this. It's like, I don't believe that things happen on accident. I don't think God works in coincidences. I either think He causes things to be, or when things are caused to be, that He uses that there. And we'll let the Calvinists and the Arminians debate how all that flushes itself out. But whatever the case, like I don't think there's any accidents. I think God either causes or uses absolutely everything that takes place here. And that's kind of behind this, is that where you are right now is no accident. That's kind of my point in that. Where we are right now, God had been working in that for years, oftentimes. And this discipline, what this does is designed to show you that, well, maybe right now you feel alone. Maybe right now you feel like this is all for nothing. But God's been in this story. And if He's been in this story before this moment, He's probably in this story in this moment. And He's probably going to use this story for the moments that are yet to come. And so what you'll do is, with this one, there's this statement here. It says, that doesn't happen if blank never happened. And what you want to do is you want to identify your where, and then you're gonna walk it back. So like I just did this one myself here. My where, the where that I picked here is, I am married to Kim. All right, so that's where I currently am, married to Kim. But then I start walking back to that statement of, that doesn't happen if blank never happens. It's like, well, so as I start going through, and this will be the example I post, but like, well, we don't get married if we don't fall in love. We don't fall in love if we never go on that first date. We don't go on that first date if Gabe hadn't made fun of me in front of Kim. There's a story there, but that's how our first date happened. I got publicly mocked, shamed in front of my future wife there. But Gabe doesn't make fun of me that day in front of Kim if we weren't roommates. Gabe and I wouldn't have been roommates if Trent and I hadn't hit it off so well in that final month of our freshman year, and Trent and I wouldn't have hit it off so well that last month of our freshman year if I hadn't been so lonely that entire year. The conclusion? Now, I actually walked that back 6 steps. I said 5, but 6 steps. My conclusion, which that's the next part here, is that before I got here, God, the way I finished that is that before I got here, God needed me to be lonely my freshman year so he could get me to Kim. Or before I got here, God made use of my loneliness to get me to Kim. Again, I don't know if he caused me to be lonely or not. He could have. And if he did, I'm grateful for it. Or if he didn't cause it, he just used it. Well, I'm grateful for that too. But the fact of the matter is that my freshman year of college, I was so lonely. It's the loneliest year of my entire life. I surrounded by people and not a friend in the world. It's just the way I felt all year long. And, but realizing now is like, if I hadn't been lonely my freshman year, I never would have married Kim. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for how God caused that or used that, whatever it is. But I married Kim. I like being married to her. I get to be married to this wonderful girl because of all that there. And that's kind of the way they each work. Then you get to number 2, whatever I have, may have or may lack, in what ways has God provided for me along the way? I'll let you figure out the first question. What has God provided for me along the way? That you can figure that one out on your own. But question number 2 in that, now you might not like this question, and that's why I'm asking it. The question is how has the lack of provision proven to be a provision? Yeah. I know that's sometimes one of the struggles for me is when I hear God, or as I keep bringing my requests to God, he keeps, I don't know, not doing anything, it seems. And, but as it turns out that a lot of times when he doesn't answer our prayers, he's answering our greater prayers. And so, like, even as I just think back to Kim, I remember my freshman year. Like, I really hated my freshman year of college because of the loneliness. And I just remember praying for friends. I remember praying that I quit feeling so lonely. And I really sought out friends, and it just never happened, like, ever. And realizing now that if God had answered my prayers for good friends that year, I probably never would have gotten to Kim. And so his lack of provision there turns out to be the greatest provision that he could have given me there. And so that kind of thing. So to kind of go through that, like, think through some things that God has not provided for you. He did not provide blank. And because he didn't provide blank, look at what you have now. You know? And you may not be able to answer that in everything, and that's okay. And some of it may be kind of hard for you to think about that, and that's okay. You don't need to, but think through some of those things. Think through the ways that God did not provide for you, and from that lack of provision, he actually took you to places that he never could have if he would have answered your prayers to begin with. And then the third one is the who. However alone or befriended I may feel, who are the people God has sent along the way to help care for me? I will tell you of the 3 questions that are on this page. This was easily the most important one to me. I had felt like God had abandoned me. That was the way I'd felt. But when I sat down and I started listing out all of the different ways, or all of the different people that had come into my life, I realized that I had about a dozen people in my life that were going to bat for me. And I just realized, like, they're from God. God sent these people into my world. He blessed me with that. And so while maybe I don't feel like I can access him, I can access his people. And if I can access his people, then that means that God is near me. He has not forgotten me. And I encourage you to, like, who are the people? Who are the people God sent in your life? And maybe it's people with like really big, important things they've done. And maybe it's just small, little, simple things that they've done. And they maybe didn't even know they were doing it. But these people were sent by God. And each one of these, the where, like, look at where God got you and how he got you there. The what, look at what he's provided for you. And the who, look at God, like the people that God has sent into your life. Each one of those is a reason for us to rejoice in the Lord. Always rejoice in the Lord. I say it again, rejoice, right? Anyway, there you go. I hope you enjoyed this discipline. This one was so powerful for me, and it was actually even really encouraging for me this morning here. So, all right, blessings.